An entitled Karen tries to cut in line in New York City while me and my friends are waiting for rush tickets to see a Broadway show. And after waiting on the pavement for literally 4 hours, me and the rest of the people in line decided that that is absolutely not gonna happen, as we all banded together and ratted this girl out for cutting in line. Here's what happened. So this happened some time ago, but I still find it hilarious. So my sister lives in New York City and I live nearby in New Jersey. We decided to get rush tickets for the musical Pippin on Broadway. If you don't know what rush tickets are, basically the box office will have about 15 to 30 tickets that have not yet sold for the day, and when the box office opens, if you're one of the first 15 to 30 people to show up, you get the tickets at a very discounted price. It's a popular thing to do among students in the area. People show up hours before the box office opens just to make sure they get those tickets. I stayed at my sister's apartment the night before, and we got up at 7 o'clock in the morning and headed to Midtown. When we got there was maybe about 8 people there at the time, so we secured our spot, sat down on the ground, and chilled out for the remaining hours. Now, at about 10:30, we see a girl stop and talk to the group of people in front of us. We thought nothing of it at first. She had a binder in her hands, so we figured maybe she had some kind of audition in the area and was just saying hi to her friends or something like that. Then we see she is sitting down with them and not looking like she is going to leave. Again, we don't know if she's hanging out with her friends or joining the line. Finally, someone from the back of the line comes up and asks her, "Hey, are you in the line or are you just here to see your friends?" She looks up at this guy and says, "No, I'm in the line." Now, the rest of us are just watching and listening intently. This guy then goes on to say, "You do know that there are only 25 tickets. We have all been here for hours, and you cutting the line means that one of us won't get a ticket." Well, what this girl did next honestly blew me away. She smiles, shrugs her shoulders, and says, "Sorry," and then she just doesn't move. This guy says to her, "Well, that's awful." But again, she just smiles, shrugs her shoulders, and says sorry. Now, this guy doesn't know what to say, and he just walks back to his spot. But those of us who heard the interaction are talking amongst ourselves, basically saying, "Oh, heck no." And the guy next to me kept saying, "Nuh-uh, she's gotta go." 11 o'clock rolls around and the box office door opens, and an attendant comes out to get us all in an orderly line. And you know what? We immediately snitch. We start saying, "This girl cut the line. She's only been here for half an hour and we've all been here all morning. Come get this girl." The attendant goes over to the girl and says, "Did you just join the line?" While all of us were going, "Yep, she sure did." The girl then goes, "Well, yeah, but my friends were saving me a spot." The attendant pulls her out of the line and goes back to getting the rest of us in a line to go inside. And at this point, we are all cheering and clapping. Meanwhile, the girl just stands there calling somebody. My sister and I are still talking about how this girl really tried it with a bunch of tired theater kids who have been up since the crack of dawn. One of her friends says to us, "Okay, can you stop talking about it now? She's gone." To which we said, "Nope, we're gonna keep talking about it." But let this be a lesson to you. Theater kids absolutely do not play. I think I would lose my mind if someone cut me in line after I'd been sitting there in the cold in New York City for what, 4 hours? Bro, there's no way I'm gonna put up with that. She's gonna go to the back of the line or she's gonna go home, because you are definitely not cutting me. Now here's the thing, a quick Google search and you'll see that some of these tickets for Broadway are really expensive. We're talking like a couple $100. So waiting in line for 4 hours, especially as like a poor student, that in my opinion is a fantastic way to try and snag some tickets. But overall, I found this story really funny, and it's cool to see karma take somebody out who absolutely deserved it. If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, link down below in the description. Also, go to amithejerk.com/submit if you would like to submit your own stories. My parents are pressuring me to be around their creepy friend who has adopted our last name just to try and be in our family. And at this point, I seriously don't know what to do. I'm a 24-year-old female who has elderly parents that moved here from another state a few weeks ago. They have a young friend that they're close with who's 42 years old. And let me just tell you straight up, this guy is creepy. And I've expressed how uncomfortable I am with him and how I won't be around the guy. I've been very clear that I wouldn't be in the same room with the guy, which might be dramatic, but my parents have forced the guy on me way too much. Now, this guy is my parents' friend, but he also calls my dad daddy and my mom mom. This guy also has a wife who calls my parents mommy and daddy. And no, it's not in a weird way. He also pretends that they're his parents. He moved here at the same time as them because he's addicted to them. He even legally changed his last name to ours, and he makes his kids call my parents grandma and grandpa. Meanwhile, Meanwhile, he makes his kids call his actual grandparents by their first name. This guy has done many things to try and hurt his own real parents, and he has a lot of family issues. This guy has also used them and sponged off my parents for years, and even recently with him staying at their house for free again for months. Like, the guy did this for several years and was sponging off of them living rent-free. Now, that's all good and jolly. I mean, it's their lives, it's their choices, and it's their relationship and business. This creepy guy is somebody to them, and my parents feel like he's a part of their family. He's not related to us in any way, not legally, not by blood, or anything like that. He just changed his last name to ours to renounce his real father's name, and so he could hurt his mother. He had previously planned to change his last name, and his mother was devastated. So he thought about changing his last name to his wife's name when they married. Well, he got mad at his mother again and didn't invite his real mom to his wedding until the day before, and this is all after people in his life started guilt-tripping him about it. And then with all that in mind, he decided to change his last name to our last name, knowing that it would hurt her. This guy has said many times how much he hates his own parents, whom he lived with until he was 22 years old. His mother paid for his private college, his first and second marriage honeymoon, and all other sorts of stuff. But he still hates his mother for making him either move out of her house or stay on her couch when he was 22 years old. All the while, he was using a lot of illegal substances in her house. So basically, this guy has a lot of family drama and a lot of problems. My parents feel bad for him and they love the guy. That's their business, it's their relationship, and it's their life. But I am not comfortable with a 42-year-old grown man that calls his elderly friend daddy and pretends that I'm his sister. This guy tells people that I'm his sister and even has my photo on his living room wall. I've been very clear that I don't like this guy and I will not be around him. This man even used to flirt with me, and he tried to date my two rich cousins to try and get into my family by marriage, while also trying to go after my cousin's money. Well, my two rich cousins dumped him, so he started flirting with me years ago. Then he finally got married and then divorced and then married again. I mostly don't like the guy because he's manipulative, he uses people, he's creepy. I know my parents love the guy and their relationships are their business. I just don't want them to try to force me to be around this guy ever again. My parents had a small holiday party and told me to invite their friends, and we invited a few old family friends that predate this weirdo that he doesn't know. My parents made it seem like it was going to be a holiday party, as if it was just for me and my old friends, but instead they invited this man, his wife, and his kid, all without telling me that they were coming. I would have been happy to not attend the party had I known he was invited, so I stayed in their office, and once the party was loud enough, I left through the side door just so I could go unnoticed. So seriously, how do I respectfully enforce the boundary that I will not be around this creepy man again? How do I make it clear that my parents should not invite me over when they invite this guy over as well? What should I do? This guy really sounds creepy. You hit the nail on the head. This guy changed his last name. He calls your parents mom and dad, and now he's trying to be like, oh yeah, you're my sister. Like, this guy needs therapy. He doesn't need another family. He needs to make amends with his actual family and like seriously get some help, because the way he's acting is not normal at all. I can't think of a single person who's ever done anything even close to this before. So I seriously think your fears are completely justified, and I know if I was in your situation, I wouldn't want to be around this guy either. Now, when it comes to how you want to approach your parents, I'm personally a big fan of being very open and honest with how I feel about a situation, especially if it's something that's as disturbing as what you just described, and just laying it all out on the table for the parents to consider and hopefully respect, because clearly this is not the first time you've expressed that this guy is creepy, and with all of your worries considered, I really just don't blame you for not wanting to be around him, because this guy is acting incredibly creepy. This next story came from the Am I the Jerk subreddit. Check the links in the description if you'd like to submit your own story. Am I the jerk for feeling neglected by my mom who favors my younger sister? Here's what happened. So to start things out, I'm a 17-year-old guy navigating through a family situation that's leaving me torn and wondering if I'm overreacting. I'm using a throwaway account because, well, family drama is about to unfold. So let me paint you a picture of what's going on in my world. My mom, who's 42 years old, has unintentionally set up this bizarre dynamic between me and my younger sister. We'll call me Jake and my sister Emily. That's not our real names. Emily is 12 years old, and it's like living in two different worlds under the same roof. Emily's living the high life. I kid you not. It's like she's got a backstage pass to the universe of the latest gadgets, designer clothes, and whatever else a 12-year-old's heart desires. You name it, and she's got it. Meanwhile, I'm here navigating my teenage years with what feels like a good luck son son from my mom. Now, I get it. Independence is important. I'm not asking to be handheld through every moment of my life, but there's a fine line between fostering independence and just leaving your kid to fend for himself, right? It's not just about the material stuff, although that's part of it. It's this feeling of being on the outskirts while Emily gets the spotlight. Mom's rationale is that I need to learn to navigate life on my own, and while that's true to some extent, it feels like she's taken it to the extreme. Imagine this. Emily gets the latest iPhone, and I'm over here with a phone that's practically a relic from a bygone era. She's rocking designer clothes, and I'm doing my best to put together a decent wardrobe with whatever hand-me-downs I can find. It's like I'm living in two different realities within the same house. I've tried talking to my mom about it, expressing how it feels like she's playing favorites, and her response is always the same. She's just trying to let me grow independently. Now, I'm not an expert on parenting, but is this really the way to go about it? I feel like I'm missing something here. The neighbors have started giving us weird looks, and I've even caught wind of family members dropping hints about how mom might be going overboard with the whole spoiling Emily situation. I don't want to sound ungrateful or like some entitled teenager, but it's getting harder to ignore. In our small town, everyone seems to know everyone else's business, and this family drama is becoming the talk of the town. People are forming opinions, and it's affecting the way they interact with us. Some are giving me sympathetic looks, others are avoiding the topic altogether, and a few have straight up asked me about what's going on at home. Now, here's the thing. I don't want to be the source of gossip, and I definitely don't want to paint my mom as some sort of villain. She's doing what she thinks is right, and I appreciate that. But it feels like she's inadvertently creating a divide between me and Emily, and I'm the one stuck in the middle. I love my sister, and I want the best for her, but it's tough to see her get all these things while I'm left feeling like the forgotten son. Am I the jerk for feeling this way? I can't shake the thought that maybe I'm blowing things out of proportion, or that I should just suck it up and deal with it. So I'm turning to the internet for some honest opinions. Is there something I'm not seeing or understanding in this situation? What should I do? Wow, I can imagine how annoying this would be. Based on what you're describing, it really does sound like your mom is spoiling Emily. And as a result, you're now feeling resentment towards Emily, and honestly, if I was in your situation, I would feel the same way. Like, here you have your sister getting all this stuff, and you're just left out to dry. And also, based on what the original poster said, it doesn't seem like there's any kind of like punishment behind this. Like, it really doesn't seem like you're a bad kid or you're doing anything wrong, or this is the result of you acting up or something along those lines. That would at least make some kind of sense and explain this behavior, but for her to be like, oh, I'm just trying to help you be more independent. Like, if I was in your shoes, I wouldn't think that. I would definitely feel the same way as the original poster and be like, wow, what's happening here? And it also really seems like her logic is kind of flawed in this scenario. If she's seriously trying to teach you to be more independent in your life overall, then what kind of message is being sent to your sister? Like, she's being taught, oh, I can get whatever I want. I can get designer clothes and a new phone and all this new stuff, and it's just going to be given to me for free. Like, it kind of seems like she's setting your sister up for disaster later in life when she doesn't get her way. Like, how is she going to handle rejection or not getting something that she wants right then and there? So personally, if she really wants to play that game of like, oh yeah, I want to teach you a good lesson about independence, then why not try to teach that to your sister as well? Like, shouldn't that be important for both of your kids? Because right now, it really does seem like she's trying to single you out specifically and be like, oh yeah, I'm trying to help you when you grow up. But it's just coming off as like super hypocritical because she's then turning around and spoiling your sister. And this is all seemingly almost like at your expense. I don't know, it just seems really weird. So to answer your question, no, of course you're not the jerk. From the sounds of it, it doesn't seem like you did anything wrong. And it really sucks that you're stuck in the middle of this because now the whole town knows about it, and that's so annoying. And hopefully if your mom's open to it, you can come to some kind of like conclusion about what's going on here, because I know if I was in your shoes, I would be really frustrated. And I would honestly just want this all to be resolved. My general manager kicked a customer out of our bar after he refused to leave a tip on a $150 bill. And I'm honestly so grateful to have a manager who clearly has my back. Here's what happened. Okay, so this happened the other day, and I'm still filled with such a profound sense of satisfaction. Saturday night, our door person calls over our general manager because someone didn't have proper identification. They just had a picture of their passport on their phone. Now, she was feeling gracious, so she asked to at least see a credit card to confirm the name is the same, and he only has his credit card on his phone. And I guess she was filled with more holiday spirit than usual, so she just let him and his friends in, mostly because they had proper ID and they were well over 21 years old. They drink for a couple of hours when he goes up and asks for the check for the group. Well, he pays and then leaves a big fat zero for a tip. The bartender's face clearly was not happy, so the general manager asked her what was wrong. She showed her the slip and she turned bright red. good. Immediately, she goes right up to him. My general manager says, "Hi, how was everything tonight?" The guy responds to her by saying, "It was good, thank you." My general manager then clarifies, "Nothing was wrong with the service or your experience?" And when the guy said no, she responded by saying, "Well, you didn't tip your bartender." This guy actually said, "Yeah, I know. I'm not obligated to do that." My general manager then said, "Well, you know this is how my staff makes money, correct?" This guy then doubled down and said, "I'm not obligated to tip and you can't force me." Now, at this point, his friends noticed the altercation and they decide to step in. When they found out their friend had not tipped, they were mortified and started asking how they could leave money. They go up to the bar and we charge them a cent on their credit card so they can tip us. Meanwhile, this dude is behind them with the biggest stink face in the world. Well, my general manager lost it at this point, and she said to this guy, You can get the heck out and wait outside. I hope karma comes back to bite you in the rear end this holiday season. And I wish that everybody in the world had a general manager who has your back like mine does." Honestly, I'm really jealous of the original poster. It really seems like they've got a manager who has their back pretty much no matter what. Like, this lady said exactly what was on her mind, and trust me, I had to censor some of that for the sake of the story. Like, in reality, she did not bite her tongue for a second, and I think you can use your imagination for the swear words that she definitely dropped. But honestly, having a manager that has your back like that really is refreshing. Because honestly, in most cases, just from like personal experience, it's very rare to have a manager who's willing to stick up for their employees pretty much no matter what. And to see this kind of defensive behavior in action honestly is just really cool. Am I the jerk for being furious at my husband about a hotel room we were supposed to get? Because right now I am so angry and I'm not letting it go. And at this point, I seriously don't know what to do. Here's what happened. Months ago, I agreed to go on a week-long trip to a luxury Mexican resort over Christmas with my father-in-law. He offered to treat myself and my husband as well as our 2 young children. He is very wealthy and dangles trips like this to corral the family together. Now here's the thing, I did not want to go on this Mexico trip. Instead, I wanted to go on a much less expensive trip, just the 4 of us at our own expense. But my husband really wanted to do this Mexico trip with his dad, so I relented. But I had one condition, that we have a separate sleeping area from our children. I absolutely hate sleeping in a room together. I never ever do it, and I plan entire trips around not having to share a room. It's not just that the kids are loud sleepers and won't stay out of our bed if we're in the same room, which also is true. They're very young, so it's not like we can put them to bed and then leave. Someone will need to be in a dark, silent room with them after bedtime, which is like, 7:30 p.m.? So I very clearly stipulated this condition to my husband and father-in-law. Not only that, I asked my husband more than once to confirm that the accommodations were adequate weeks ago, which he did not do. And this week, I learned that the 4 of us had been booked into a single room. And I am furious. The general reaction from everyone, including my husband, is that I'm overreacting and that it's not a big deal, that I should just be grateful for this trip. I have been giving my husband the silent treatment for 3 days. He admits that he messed up, but thinks that I'm being unreasonable. He's not feeling well, so he has not tried to fix the situation. That's fallen on me, and folks, I never wanted to go on this trip in the first place. I would have never accepted it had I known the accommodations. I don't need a luxury trip that badly. I would have said thank you, but no. Also, this incident is on the heels of a 9-day trip my husband recently took. Not a work trip, mind you. It was a trip he chose to go on voluntarily. I was on solo childcare with 2 children during that time. To say I feel disrespected and taken advantage of is a vast understatement. And at this point, I seriously don't know what to do. Yeah, I can see why you would be frustrated with your husband. Like, you were willing to go even though you didn't want to go on this trip, and you spelled it out very clearly and reminded him multiple times that you want separate rooms for you 2 and your kids. Like, if those demands were met, everything would have been fine. We can do the trip, whatever. But not even that got done. Like, if that just shows he really just did not care about your opinion about this trip, I don't know what is. Like, in my opinion, this literally was like the bare minimum just to get this trip ready. And it also would have been very easy to coordinate. All he had to do was be like, hey, we need 2 rooms. And then his rich father could have made that happen like in an instant. So I completely understand why you would be frustrated in this scenario. It also really doesn't seem like your husband's actually sick. Like, I'm fairly convinced that he's playing possum just so he doesn't have to like deal with his mistakes and face his father. And that's just really lazy and just not fair for you in the slightest. Because what you were asking for was so simple. And the fact that they would try to paint you as the unreasonable one in this situation is honestly just super insulting. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications. To finish listening to all the stories, check out the playlist at the top of the description. And if you want some chill music to put on in the background, check out easymode. If you like Am I the Jerk, subscribe to Am I the Genius. Everything will be linked down below in the description.